Good evening and welcome to the Ferrisburg City Council meeting for Monday, May 4th, 2026. Craig, could you call the roll, please?
Mayor Carlson,
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Here.
Councilmember Sias, here, Councilmember Murdoch, Councilmember Kate,
Here.
Councilmember DeWitt, here, Councilmember Cook.
Very good. If we could all...
Your
oh,
Honor.
yes.
I'll make a motion. Councilman. Support.
Okay, motion and support. Any conversation? Hearing none. Craig?
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson,
Yes.
motion passed.
If we could all rise for the invocation by Councilmember Bill Kate, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Gracious God, we thank you so much for the blessings of the day now past, and we ask your blessings on the evening ahead, especially our meeting as we work together to work on city council business. We pray your blessings and your guidance and direction and all that. We thank you especially tonight for our first responders, and we special attention to our firefighters here, all those that dedicate themselves to rushing in when other people rush out. We ask your blessings of safety for each and every one of them. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thank you all. Now is the time for public comments. This time on the agenda is for any citizen to direct brief comments or questions to the City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please position yourself in line near the wall where the podium is located to ensure visibility and to be recognized. And after being recognized by the mayor, please give your name and your address of residency for the record and proceed with your comment or question. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment tonight?
Nicole Larabelle, 16814 Virginia Avenue. Just wanted to recap the zoning ordinance and some of the changes. Some of the changes that I think don't necessarily reflect what people that took the master plan survey were, which was residents. 187 people took the survey. What this ordinance change does is it allows townhouses in commercial districts like downtown, where Leppinks is, Trillium. It allows apartment complexes, you know, in commercial spaces that are general commercial, which are like Leppinks, the I'm Fit building, again, Trillium. And my point is we can add housing to commercial properties if we allow the first floor to be commercial uses and service uses, and then have apartments above or condos above. We can still do what the state wants us to do to meet our housing goals. Now, this is a result of about a year of discussions, and the money that has gone into paying for the city planner to write these ordinances for the Planning Commission to recommend to you to approve, that money was funded by the state to meet the state's housing goals. And the goal in part is to add as many units on paper as we possibly can in every zoning district. So my thought here is to read part of the master plan here where 69% of people prioritize single-family housing. Apartment complexes were only 28% favored by survey respondents. And then land uses, when they talked about the most desirable land uses by survey people, they said 90% of respondents identified a need for more options in the eating and drinking establishment category. Small retail stores received 81% interest. And personal services, like repair shops and salons, 64% favored. Entertainment, recreational uses, 73% favored. Again, apartment complex are only 28% favored. So if we can all imagine someday commercial spaces being all residential apartment buildings, and the parking requirement for those is 1 space per unit. Now, I don't know how anybody is supposed to have 2 people working to afford an apartment and those people not to both have cars. You know, when you look at the master plan and see how many people take public transportation to work, I believe the answer was 0. And we're not having people that bike to work either. Almost everybody takes a car to work. We don't live in a place that has enough jobs to support our residents. And we're gonna have even less jobs to support our residents if the businesses that we do have decide that it's going to be more profitable to have a large apartment complex on their property instead of a use like a banquet center like Trillium, or an apartment, or a grocery store like Leppings. So I think the master plan is clear, which was written in 2025, so it was adopted very recently. I think it's clear that townhouses are not the right choice for our commercial properties. And we're told this is for affordable housing, yet when I looked at the rent on townhouses in Spring Lake, the preserved townhouses, a 2-bedroom was renting for over $2,000 a month, and a 3-bedroom was renting for $2,400 a month. Now, I've heard the median household income quoted incorrectly. It is $67,000 according to our 2025 master plan. And income per capita per person, $44,000. So when you take those numbers and apply it to the rent of a townhouse that's over $2,000 a month, a 2-bedroom is 55% of the per capita income for an individual, 36% of a median household income. And 3 bedrooms that rent for $2,400, that's 66% of per capita income and 44% of median household income. Now, HUD, the Department of Housing, says 30% of your gross income for all housing costs, rent, mortgage, and utilities needs not to be more than 30% of your income. So townhouses, it's not gonna work for affordable housing.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment this evening?
Good evening, City Council. I'm here to speak on the same issue as Nicole, item 7C. I'm worried of pushing ordinance number 244 ahead like this. Sorry.
Will you introduce yourself? And
Oh yeah, my
state
bad.
your
My name is Oliver Champagne,
address?
Grand Haven. I don't think there's been a proper format for actually all of Ferrysburg to be properly educated on this issue at all. I am concerned that public hearing notices haven't been given to everyone, even though their properties, how they're going to be zoned for the near future and probably for a long time, they don't know what's going on. And a lot of people still aren't home for the summer. But you're going to change the way that their property is zoned, and when they want to make changes, they might not be able to with the new setbacks and limitations that are being put on. Now, people are talking about that this is in the hopes of building more affordable housing, which is a great mission. I think it is. We need more housing in Michigan, specifically in the low to middle income area, and I'd argue townhouses are not that at all. And you're not filling in the actual need in this community by doing so and providing those opportunities whilst not providing any room for low to middle income residents. I hope that we can actually choose to not vote on this issue today, that you guys can bring it into another hearing just on that topic, properly inform the residents of the cities of Ferrisburgh on what changes are being pushed forward. Truly, because I don't think you're going to have a lot of happy people if they actually knew what you were doing to their property and voting on it. Zoning oftentimes has been used as a weapon more than actually a community builder. And I've seen it here in the city of Ferrisburgh over the past couple of years that I've spent time here. I've seen it in Grand Haven. And it makes me saddened because, as we heard from the master plan, we want to have this vibrant community where residents are able to enjoy downtown and be able to actually afford to live here. And in the current format, I do not think at all that these zoning changes are going for that. I think they're just trying to push in as much housing as we can, but filling in the need for high income and not low to middle income. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment tonight?
Good evening, Stu Urbantrout, 16621 Lakeview, Ferrisburgh. My comment has to do with your medium-density lakefront cottage residential R4. Your statement of purpose says that R4, medium-density lakefront cottage residential zoning district, has been established to encourage the conservation and redevelopment of the older waterfront residential neighborhood on Inland Spring Lake. Since the area includes a wide variety of lot sizes, the intent is to support and continue the continued use and improvement of small lot, single unit dwellings while ensuring new homes are consistent with the area. So that's a bunch of words. After you put those together, then you started taking rights away. And one of the first ones you took away was minimum lot size, changed from 5,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet. That hurts a lot more houses now than what it was. My property is only 4,000 square feet. I'm one of those that doesn't fall in any of your lot sizes. When you look at reconstruction, you say there's a note added based on council comments. This primarily reflects current ILO reconstruction provisions. Well, I'll have to go to page 5 for that. And page 5 sends you then to see section 3.270, which is on page 6. And 3.270 sends you to section 9.150, and I couldn't find a 9.150. 9.140, but not 9.150. So there's a big runaround here, and it looks like you've spent a lot of time trying to put down the small lot owner. And if my house was to burn down, the way you have it worded here, I could not reconstruct on that footprint. There's no way. And I had to get a variance just to put a deck on the front of the house. Well, there's something in here that says that you cannot do that anymore. No variances. You have to stick to this rule. Well, so my house will worth zero. If it burns down, the lot is worth zero. Nobody else can build on it either. So
Thank you.
you keep restricting all of our
Stu,
rights.
your time is up.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Give him a few extra minutes to finish his thought. Are you done?
I've got 10 minutes more.
There's another public comment period when we get to the agenda items too. For an additional 3 minutes. Do we have any other public comment this evening? Seeing none, let's move on. Oh, okay.
David Brockmeyer, 16935 West Spring Lake Road. I just came in to make sure that we are Cottage Shores. We are having our groundbreaking ceremony on Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Everybody's invited if you want to come by. That's my announcement. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other additional public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Agenda item number 6, consideration of approval of the consent agenda. 6A, approve the April 20th, 2026 City Council meeting minutes as printed. And 6B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $131,556.91.
So moved. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
On the bills memo, we want to add another check to that to make the new total $166,556.19. There's a check going out to Tandem Electric for the Coast Guard Park lights.
Your Honor, I'd make the approval with the amended amount.
Support.
Motion and support on the floor. Any questions for staff regarding this? Hearing none. Craig?
Councilmember Sias?
Yes.
Councilmember Kate?
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Carlson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Moving on to new business, agenda item 7A, discussion, excuse me, and to take action if appropriate to approve the mayor's proclamation recognizing Ray Chartier for his years of service on the Ferrysburg Fire Department.
Your Honor, I would make a motion to approve it.
Support. Motion and support on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none. Craig?
Councilmember Kate?
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilmember Sias?
Yes.
Mayor Carlson?
You bet.
Motion passed.
Very good. Can we, call him forward?
Podium?
Please. Is Ray here tonight?
Podium? You gotta read the, Mr. Mayor, you want to read that proclamation at the podium?
There it is.
Okay. Well, Peggy's gonna, in person, she's, also for her.
Excuse me, Tim, could you use the microphone, please?
We got a
Use the
microphone. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, not accustomed to public speaking. We also are here to honor Peggy. Peggy and Ray are a package. Without the wife support, there can't be a good firefighter. Ray, first off, I want to say it's been an honor to serve with you. And we got a plaque for you here that I'd like to present, the resolution.
I haven't even read it yet.
Oh,
You're kind of stealing my thunder.
oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, you got the gavel, man. Slam it.
Go ahead.
Proclamation, Ray Chartier. Whereas we come to honor a man who's dedicated his life to serve others as a firefighter, and whereas Ray started his service 45 years ago with the Beaverton Fire Department, and whereas Ray continued his service with the Norton Shores and Fruitport Fire Departments, and whereas Ray became a member of the Ferrysburg Fire Department where he served with dedication, distinction, pride, and integrity, And whereas Ray helped train, mentor, and inspire his fellow firefighter, and whereas Ray is the first of a 3-generation firefighter legacy as his sons and grandsons serve as firefighters. And whereas Ray, his loving wife Peggy, supported him by letting him serve their communities. And whereas Ray has decided to retire from firefighting, but not as a fireman, as there is no such thing as retired firemen. Now therefore, we, the citizens of the city of Ferrisburg, on behalf of a grateful city, do hereby declare May 4th, 2026 as Firefighter Ray Chartier Day. Congratulations.
Also, one other thing on behalf, with the mayor's indulgence, I have another presentation for him. Ray, on behalf of the entire fire department, we are giving you a certificate of grateful appreciation. It says, awarded to firefighter Ray Chartier in recognition of 45 years of selfless dedication and service to your community and fellow firefighters. Your service will live on through the lives you have saved and the firefighters you've helped train and mentor. And I couldn't find a gold watch to give you, so I'm going to give you one with a gold frame. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your service. It's an understatement. Moving on, 7B, new business, discussion to take action if appropriate to approve the mayor's proclamation to celebrate the city of Ferrisburg participation in the Heart Safe Tri-Cities program.
I'll
Staff,
make a
you wanna-
motion to approve.
Go ahead.
Support.
Okay. Staff, you want to fill us in on this, please?
This is something that an organization is getting together called Heart Safe. Their goal is to put an AED in each public space and to try to train 10% of the population and how to use that and CPR. We have Mr. O'Donnell is the Ferrisburg representative on that organization right now.
Did Tim want to come up and say something on it? Tim?
Thank you. This program, it's a brand new program. It's a nationwide program. And currently in the state of Michigan, there are only 2 cities that have the Heart Safe designation. One is Detroit and the other one is Holland. And I'm on a committee representing the Tri-Cities, Grand Haven, Spring Lake, and Ferrisburg, and we're looking to be the 3rd. Actually, the first group of cities to be recognized with this distinction. It's very important that we try to get everybody to participate in CPR if somebody collapses. You have 3 minutes before brain cells start dying, after a person stops breathing. And also, it's amazing in today's society where there's a lot of people that will not get involved. I work on the ambulance, and there's been many times where we take, the time that we get to the scene, and no CPR is done because people refuse to get involved. And so this is just to encourage it. It's a special designation. If you have any questions, we have a kickoff on June 3rd. I believe it's 5 to 7 at the Community Center in Spring Lake. And we want to get as many people there to, and through the next couple of years to support this program. Any questions?
I don't believe so.
Your Honor. Are we offering training for residents or?
The training is going to be free of charge. It's going to be an abbreviated CPR. Basically, it's going to be training people to do chest compressions. So that is the most important part of CPR, is doing the chest compression. It's a blood circulating, causes oxygen to keep flowing, and there has been a great increase in survivability, people that get CPR immediately. So that's what we're trying to encourage. We have an older population, so it'd be great for this area.
When
Yeah.
will that be held, Tim?
What?
When will that be held?
The training is going to go on throughout the year. We're going to have be looking at being at community events. We're going to have a booth for community events, and also our first one's going to kick off on June 3rd. That'll be the big kickoff. We'll present it to all the municipalities and start getting people signed up. And we're looking at 10% of Ferrisburg population. That's 393 people approximately. Not a big number, but the more we can get, the better.
So you
And
said June 3rd,
June 3rd, I believe. Yes.
and that's when they can come to community center and get trained in CPR.
Yep, that'll be. But we'll have. That's the kickoff. So there'll be some training there, and at the presentation booths that we're going to have for the community.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Tim, where's the training actually gonna take place?
Well, the nice thing about this is the training will actually take place right there at the booth. It's not certification, okay, as you would normally have through the American Red Cross or the American Heart Association. This is mainly to teach people how to properly do CPR and to use AEDs, the automatic external defibrillator.
So when you say you're gonna have it at a booth, is that like gonna be at the 4th of July party?
That's what we're planning on doing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So this is more of an awareness program.
This is an awareness and a commitment by people to at least do, they can go on and get their certification, learn how to do the what we call puffies. But the main thing is to get CPR started, recognize that someone's having an issue. The other thing is getting AEDs into more public places than what we have them, and knowing how to use AEDs. I went to Kitchell Lindquist, requested that, see if they were interested in getting one out at Kitchell Lindquist students. And they seemed interested in that.
Who pays for these?
Those will come, the payments will be made by private donations or through, if the city decided they wanted to put some out, it would be paid by the city. But county, I've already, Ottawa Sands is gonna be putting several AEDs out at Ottawa Sands. So we'll have them out there, and North Park. And if we got them in all our parks, that'd be 26% of the city be covered.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. Yes.
Why are we doing this what's the benefit of a Tri-Cities versus Ferrisburg? Do we already have the buy-in from both of the other cities?
Grand Haven, yes. The subcommittee that I'm on is chaired by Chief Stalzer out of Spring Lake Fire Department, also the Director of the Public Safety in Grand Haven. And the reason we're just up and starting and running on this, we've applied for grants to help pay the major costs for this program.
We're not committing to anything tonight other
No.
than this proclamation.
No, not that's just that you support the program. No monetary. We're not asking for anything monetary at this time.
Any other questions or comments from council? No? Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Go ahead and call roll, please.
Roll call, Councilmember DeWitt?
For, to approve this?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilmember Sias?
Yes.
Councilmember Kay?
Yes.
Mayor Carlson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Moving on to 7C, discussion and take action if appropriate to adopt an ordinance number 244, an ordinance to amend the city code by amending chapter 154 zoning to amend provisions related to residential land uses, review processes, and development requirements for residential land uses, as well as other stated matters, and to amend the official zoning map of the city of Ferrisburgh. I'd entertain a motion on this.
Your Honor.
And I'd prefer to see a motion, yea or nay, because a motion to table is not going to allow any public discussion or any comments from Mr. Jarosik.
I'll make a motion to deny it.
I approve. I'll support.
Okay, motion and support on the floor. So we'll take public comment. Anybody have any public comment regarding this tonight? This is your opportunity.
Regina Schoberg, 17542 Parkwood Drive. I'd like to reiterate that the Planning Commission worked hard and long to fulfill the charge entrusted to us by council. We did not turn this over to our planning officer, and he rewrote it, and we just sat there like dummies and approved it. We worked on this for a long time with the expert guidance of Mr. Jarosik, who is here tonight to answer questions if need be. As I mentioned at the last council meeting, most area municipalities are addressing the challenges of affordable housing. Grand Haven Township recently reviewed a project that will bring 123 new affordable housings to the area. Muskegon's continuing efforts to turn vacant lots into low-income housing sites. The My Home program, its MI program, seeks to support accelerating housing congestion and rehab to promote local zoning regulation supporting affordable housing. Norton Shores and Grand Haven are revising their housing zoning in order to have higher density to create more affordable housing. I'm hopeful that you won't fall prey to what I call the Chicken Little syndrome, which is, do you remember the story of the hen that got hit on the head with an acorn? She ran around, overreacted, and said, the sky is falling, run and tell the king. Please don't overreact. If you have a question, ask Mr. Jarosik. Everything can be answered. We worked very hard on this. Please do not let misinformation, politics, prejudice, and just the resistance to change to influence your discussion, because this is a chance for you to make Ferrisburgh a better place in the future and to give families a better chance in Ferrisburgh to have a home.
Do we have any other additional public comment?
Again, Stu Urbantrout, 16621 Lakeview, Ferrisburgh. In your notes that are here to explain, I guess, what rest of the body is talking about, it says that in no case shall the footprint of the new single unit dwelling be increased beyond the footprint of the original single unit dwelling within the required setbacks for the R4 district. Well, the setbacks for the R4 district says 15 feet. So you can't build the front of your house. You can build the back of your house because the setbacks are different. So you can build the back end of your house, but you can't build the front to reconstruct because of the 15-foot limit that's there. And it says in no case shall there be any variance on these. So one by one, you're taking away our rights as owners of property. And we've been here for 25, 26 years now. And all of a sudden, we're going to have a lot that probably can't be sold because of the limitations that you're putting on this. That's all I've got for now. Thank you.
Your Honor, can we get some clarity from the planner on the footprint?
Yes, sir.
My name is David Vanderhagen. I'm at 16585 Lakeview, just down the street from Stewart. I echo his concerns that that area, Brant and Gilliland's plat, has probably 30 lots in it that are 40 feet by 100 feet. All of them would be substandard. Mine is 40 by 100, just like Stu's. And we're concerned about, obviously, what would happen if there was a total loss of the property there, either by weather or by fire. That whole area has been subject to considerable redevelopment and investment over the last several years. The parcel that I identified has been in our family for over 50 years. And the neighborhood has been affected by variance requests, but it's a livable area and it's a desired area. And I share the concern that there shall be no variance is just eliminating a steam valve that's really quite necessary in any zoning ordinance. And while the desire to abate setback variances is a laudable one, it will not be accomplished, it seems to me, by simply calling all variances out of bounds, and thus having a situation where there are some pre-existing situations that were duly considered and authorized and now are being prohibited for a particular parcel that seems to have fallen subject to a disaster. So I too would urge no vote for you. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Nicole Larrabell, 16814 Virginia Avenue. Just related to the reconstruction of the same footprint. Last meeting, two councilmen, DeWitt and Mr. Cook, said, let's give residents the right to rebuild the same footprint. Now in the draft tonight, it says you can rebuild on the same footprint just on the rear portion. The front and the sides need to meet the setbacks. That's not the same footprint. That's not what council asked for last meeting. The reason why they're saying that is the way to do it is because they claim that that is the way it's written now. And if anybody believes that we have the right to rebuild the same footprint, 100% of it in our current ordinance, like I do, you should come to the ZBA hearing May 14th. A public notice was not mailed to the Inland Lake Overlay because the city of Ferrysburg believes that it is not relevant to their properties. When I say this is relevant to 90% of Inland Lake homeowners because their property is located too close to one of the setbacks. One thing that hasn't brought up, they keep saying the rear setback is reduced from 40 feet to 30. What they don't tell you is that for smaller lots that qualified, the rear setback now is 20 feet. So you're increasing it 10 feet to 30? Why? You're giving the lots that are big a 10-foot break, and you're punishing the lots like mine and the lots, you know, on Cecilia that are very shallow, saying, no, your house can't be where it was, you know. There's so many houses that this setback thing relates to. So ZBA hearing May 14th, and then one thing I heard last meeting about when Mr. Post, the chairman of the Planning Commission, was asked why townhouses should be allowed downtown, he said, because those people could keep the businesses in Ferrysburg alive. Now, I think maybe you could fit 20 houses downtown with no businesses there. Maybe you could fit 40. But can 40 people keep a downtown running? Can those people expect to keep those businesses running? Or should we have a downtown that has commercial and service on the second floor and residential above? All we would have to do to keep our commercial spaces in Ferrysburg is say the first floor needs to be commercial. When I was sitting in the Lepix parking lot today, I saw about 100 cars. And I saw all those people frequenting all the businesses in that plaza. And I think about the people that walk to that store from Woodland Ridge, from the trailer park, from downtown Ferrysburg. You know, there's a lot of people here that don't have cars, and there's not another grocery store they can walk to.
Thank you.
Oliver Champagne, Grand Haven. I would like to echo the concerns of everyone that just spoke. My concern is, though, making zoning changes, if this is in the hopes of more affordable housing, does not actually mean affordable housing is going to be built. And from what I am seeing very clearly in my mind is what is going to happen is individuals that have just spoken will not be able to rebuild their own homes if they were destroyed from a fire or weather, which means they're going to have to sell their property, which someone else is going to pick it up, some developer, and they'll probably have to buy another swath of properties so they actually can build on them. And they are not going to build low to middle income housing. They are going to build the housing that provides them the most money, which is high income condos or whatever it be. That is what is going to happen. And if that would be the end goal. I don't see low to middle income being built throughout this state because it's not something that generally gets developers a lot of money, and they're trying to get the most bang for their buck. And so that's truly the goal. I don't think this current ordinance is taking that fully into account. They're not requiring it in any way, and if you aren't going to require it, it's not going to happen. In the city of Grand Haven, this happened with Peerless Flats. They originally had this goal of having 10% being subsidized, affordable, and I don't believe that mission ever actually fully got carried out, and it hasn't been carried out by any of the other apartments that were built up in Grand Haven over the past few years. So I hope that you heavily consider what you actually think affordable housing is, which was made mention earlier. It's 30% or less of your income being used on utilities, mortgage, rent, whatever it be, for your house. But that is not going to be built. What is going to happen is developers are going to eat up the swath of land of people that can no longer build on their homes or change them due to these new limitations, and they're going to build what makes them the most money. Thank you.
Do we have any other additional public comments?
Denny Dreyer, Dreyer Architectural Group, 220 and a half Washington, Grand Haven. I have several clients in the ILO district, and part of my concern is the 40 and 50-foot lots are suffering with this, and I think you need to take a more serious look at that. The 60-foot lots might be okay, but when you get to Cecilia, they don't have any depth. That's the biggest problem on the water on Cecilia's side, and trying to split that off as something other than the ILO. Be careful with that, please. The other item I'm concerned with is you're paying a penalty for front-loaded garages. You can have a side-load garage of 15 feet, but a front-load garage takes it to 25 feet. You can't do a side-load garage on a 40-foot lot, period. You can do a side-load garage with a subcompact vehicle on a 50-foot lot. On a 60-foot lot, you can pull it off, but you better not drive pickup trucks, because it just doesn't work. Right now, the idea of not having a garage because it can't be front load, because if you push that back, that extra 10 feet, you're really hurting what can be built on some of those properties, especially on Cecilia. So please consider, and I would love to hear Mr. Jurosik explain the penalty for a front load garage. So, thank you.
Any more public comment before we move on? Seeing and hearing none. Staff, did you want to come to David, did you want to come to the podium to answer some questions from the city council, or did you just want to stay right there?
It'd be okay, just I have all my
Yeah.
resources here on the computer,
Okay,
so I
very
can,
good.
I can refer
Yeah.
things quickly.
I requested that Mr. Rosick be here because we had technical questions. Is it my turn?
Nope, go right ahead.
All right, give me a logical explanation why you're eliminating the inland overlay.
Sure, well, the overlay district does two things. It first allows for,
Put the microphone so I can hear you.
okay, I'm right here. The overlay district allows for two things. Well, first off, it recognizes the majority of non-conforming lots and non-conforming dwellings. So within the RG1 zoning district, this was an area that was along the waterfront that there's a cluster and a very high percentage of non-conforming lots that are substandard to area and width and non-conforming dwellings which don't comply primarily to setbacks. So the purpose was to recognize that area within RG1. So then the purpose then of the overlay district is one, to allow for reduced setbacks for lots that are either too narrow or too small as compared to the RG1 zoning district. RG1 has minimum lot size of 10,000. So it was expressed earlier that it was 5,000, it's 10,000. So it does that. It recognizes non-conforming lots and allows for setback reductions. Second is referred to a couple times tonight as the reconstruction provision. So the ordinance says specifically that you can you can tear down your house just at your will, tear it down and rebuild in the same footprint as it was. That is not actually true for most properties though. So there's a paragraph that says you can rebuild in the same footprint subject to the following conditions. One, that the front setback needs to be met. Two, side yard setbacks cannot be less than 7 feet. There's a few others concerning the heights and location, but if you look at all the conditions that have to be met, in most cases you will not be able to rebuild in the same footprint. So my opinion is that the section is really kind of misleading, as if you could rebuild in the same footprint if you just wanted to tear down your house. So the idea here was that we would just, rather than have an overlay district, we would have a new R4 zoning district that does a few things. We reduce the lot size that's more in line with the smaller lots within the overlay district, and then we calibrate all the setbacks down accordingly. So rather than having this convoluted method of reducing your setbacks based on your degree of nonconformity, we just simply say your front setback is lesser, your side setbacks are this, your rear setback is this. And as mentioned, this will affect different lots differently. So some lots will actually benefit from this. Some lots may have a very slight restriction by a couple feet if that. So I've done a number of sketches based on various lot sizes and the setbacks proposed. And the setbacks are calibrated to a 5,000 square foot lot. So if you look at zoning codes across the country, single family lots at 5,000 square feet, you're going to see setbacks that are very similar to this. So to go back to your question, the ILO, it had a good purpose. We're recognizing an area with substandard lots and non-conforming houses. Our opinion was, after months of discussion with the Planning Commission, that we would have a simple approach just to calibrate a new zoning district based on those conditions, and to recognize that there are nonconformities and that the setbacks would be adjusted accordingly. With that, the reconstruction provision, there's a number of different interpretations of the section. It does not allow the reconstruction on the same footprint. It's just not true. That has been appealed to the ZBA, and that decision will be made. But it's not only you can build in the same footprint, but you must meet certain conditions. So if your building is less than 7 feet from that side property line, you can't rebuild it in the same footprint. That is what the zoning ordinance says, and that has been appealed. And with that then, based on the conversation from your meeting last meeting, did add in a section in this proposed R4, which essentially carries over the reconstruction provision of the ILO district. Now, I wrote it in a way that makes more sense, and hopefully there can be a common understanding when you read it, rather than the existing text, which I read it a couple times a week, and it's still, to me, it's not clear, both the reduction portion for any addition or new building and the reconstruction. I think it's unclear. If you want that provision, I've added it in, I think, in clear, plain language. But the main issue is that there is a difference of opinion on reconstruction rights. And my opinion is in many cases, you cannot rebuild in the same footprint because several conditions need to be met. And then just one more follow-up to that is there are a couple comments tonight which are disturbing to me because it's just wrong. There's already provision in the ordinance that allows for rebuilding a non-conforming dwelling if it burns down. So that's in a different section of the ordinance, in the non-conforming structure section. There's some minor. So with that, it says that you can if your damage is more than half the value of the structure prior to the damage, you can rebuild it to the same dimensions, provided that basically your lot setbacks, coverage, height, everything shall not increase in any nonconformity or result in any new nonconformity. And then second, notwithstanding the location of the original footprint, the new structure may be no closer than 5 feet from any side lot line and 3 feet from any side or rear property line. Accessory building has to be 10 feet from the principal. So even with the reconstruction after damage, there are some minor conditions that need to be met. So let's just say you had a 0-foot setback. You're right on the line, the house burns down. The current ordinance says that it must be built, you have to back it up 5 feet. So same footprint, but we want to trying to minimize non-conforming situations, but give that right to rebuild. So anything concerning the damage through a windstorm, through fire, any sort of natural hazard, you can rebuild. The ordinance says that. The reconstruction provision in the ILO, though, that is relating to you want to voluntarily rip down your house and build a new house. So that's the reconstruction rights are only related to I don't like this, it doesn't suit our family needs, we're going to tear it down, rebuild. And with that, we do have some provision that you could build in a non-conforming setback area. But at the same time, you could also just scratch the idea of that old footprint, rebuild a new house with completely reasonable setbacks, lot coverage, because everything has been calibrated to a 5,000 square foot lot. Now, there might be some cases where you have less than 5,000 square feet or might have a narrower lot. I would say that may be a handful of cases. That's why we have a variance process. And the other disturbing thing I heard tonight was misinformation that you cannot apply for a variance. I word searched the word variance in the proposed ordinance that you've received. It doesn't exist. The variance process is in different parts of the ordinance that have not been affected. So anytime that there's a situation where something is too narrow or the dimensions of a lot are just don't allow for you to find a reasonable building footprint, the variance process is a way to get that relief. And it recognizes that, hey, this is a unique, odd situation that could not be anticipated by the zoning ordinance. You meet these standards, you can build in this manner, so you can have reasonable use of your property. That was a long-winded answer, so let me know if I can expand anything.
But you did a good try. I think we need an ordinance.
Is there something that I did not answer that I can help with? Because I don't want it to be a try. I want to answer the question.
Well,
I mean, you may not agree, and I want everyone. We might not agree on this ordinance, but I want anyone who doesn't agree just to base it on fact and based on the appropriate interpretation, because this ordinance is going to look however you as a council want it to look, and it makes that this is your ordinance, not mine, and I just want to make sure that I can answer accurately so that you can make your decision.
So let me ask you, what would be the downside of us just having an ordinance that says if your house is destroyed or if you want to tear it down and rebuild it on the existing footprint with no extra variant, extra lot coverage or anything else on the exact same footprint, that be allowed, period? Why is that not a statement that we could make and just say, hey, that would alleviate all these people's problems and questions, because you're leaving it up to interpretation here. I don't want interpretation. I want a clear-cut ordinance that says, hey, if your house is destroyed or you tear it down, you can build it on the same footprint regardless of lot coverage, setbacks, all the other stuff.
Sure.
Is that something we can handle?
Absolutely. So in the case of a hazard, that would be currently, well, it's been renumbered to section 1130, non-conforming structures. So that's going to be a different part of the ordinance that we did not address in this update. So in terms of a hazard, you could have it to be, you could have it say that a residential structure, if damaged more than 50%, can be rebuilt in the exact same shape, size, setback, whatever it might be. And then you could eliminate the notwithstanding part that you have to be at least 5 feet from the property line. So if you were 3 feet from the property line, if you wanted to allow for a house that was burnt to be rebuilt 3 feet from the property line, we say that. There's some ordinances that's perfectly normal. Other ordinances, non-conforming regulation can be a scale of how accommodating you want to be. So the purpose of non-conforming regulation is to ultimately discourage the long-term survival of something that's non-conforming. You want to, over time, bring it closer to conformance. But there's different degrees of how accommodating you want to be. I have some communities that say, no problem, rebuild the exact same spot. We're not gonna, if it was over the property line, that might be a case where you say, at least build it on your property.
Right.
Because there are encroaching
Well, there's a
structures that will
bunch of
burn.
them, yeah.
And I think it'd be, some ordinances just say, you have to rebuild, but you can't cross the property line if you are encroaching onto someone's property. That's perfectly reasonable too.
Right, that would be subject to legal.
Yep. And then, with that, I really have no issues with that at all. I wouldn't advise against that direction. It's the issue of the reconstruction in ILO. My thought just, and again, I'm not right here. I'm not wrong. This is my opinion. In ILO, I think you have property rights that are calibrated to lot size. I think that the redevelopment option, if you want to tear down your house in ILO, in our new R4, you have the right to do that, and you can rebuild a perfectly reasonable house with 40% lot coverage, the front setback, side and rear setbacks. So I think that is going to cover most reasonable development of property. But if you want to allow for folks in one specific area the ability to rebuild, you're also giving folks in that area a right that others don't have.
No, you misunderstand. I want it citywide.
Okay.
That if your house is destroyed, I have a acquaintance over on Lakeview. I'm not going to mention names, but he has black mold in the house. There's no way in hell he can meet any of the existing codes as you presented them. Now, he's going to have to tear that house down. My thought is, well, he's in his 80s. He should be allowed to rebuild that house through no fault of his own. It has to come down, but on the same existing footprint, regardless of setbacks and lot coverage and everything. Is that something you're opposed to writing in the ordinance? Not just in inland overlay. I mean the whole city.
In that section, it's currently 1030. Now it's proposed 1130 with our new chapter.
But plain language, you can.
Yeah.
Period.
That can be done in this new 1130, and correct. That would be citywide.
Right.
The reconstruction provision, just if you voluntarily tearing down your house, that's a different provision that's only a right for folks in that R4 ILO area.
In non-conforming lots.
Correct. Well, actually, it's non-conforming dwelling. So if you don't meet a setback and you just want to tear down your house and rebuild because you want a different variation or 1 story versus 2 stories, whatever it might be.
On the existing footprint.
On the existing footprint, and so that would be a decision for you as a council. The way I presented it in the draft that you had in your packet for this meeting was,
it's not clear
to me. It was mimicking what we have now. I tried to write that in language that is clearly stating what the current requirement is. Now, if you want it to be more accommodating, you can adjust it to be more accommodating. It's just, and really what it is you're recognizing an area that has nonconformities, and how, over time, do we want that situation to stay the same? Do we want to see over time buildings start to, as they redevelop, shift away from the property line, just be more standardized in terms of the zoning regulations? And that's completely a decision of the council and planning commission.
So essentially, we could get plain language, easily understood, for accessory dwelling, not accessory dwelling units, but accessory building, garage. Let's say a foot from the property line burns down. Would they still have to go before zoning board of appeals? Or because it's pre-existing, they can just go forward?
With the case of non-conforming structures in 1130, 1030 now, there's no ZBA action. It's administrative. Looks, I don't even think that there's some ordinances will have you have to come back within a year. I don't see that, but I can confirm. But it's an administrative review. What we do is take a look at the existing
done in
plans.
City Hall.
Yep, administrative function. And it's supposed to be that way because this is a crisis for someone's family. So I try to make it in a case to where you can rebuild without any major restrictions or red tape. It's just the other issue, the reconstruction when you're just voluntarily tearing something down. That I think that's more of the question that I'd like to address. Your comfort level in the current language versus being more accommodating to this area.
We're not being more accommodating, we're allowing you to replace what you have. You can't exceed your existing footprint and make lot coverage or lot setbacks more than what you already have. So you're not expanding the nonconformity, you're accepting the nonconformity as it is. Plain language, we can do that?
If that's the direction of the council, absolutely.
You need a vote on that?
There'll be a number of things.
All right, let's move on.
Mr. Sias has a question. Jerry, go ahead.
Thanks for coming tonight, Dave. I would like to know what eliminating the inland overlay district does to create more affordable housing. In my opinion, all this does is create more opportunity for McMansions along the lakeshore. It creates more opportunity for a developer to come in and buy 2 or 3, 4 lots in one and then build mega mansions or townhomes or whatever, and of course keeping the residents out and blocking their view of the water. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. I just don't see how this will help with affordable housing. Can you give me some insight on that?
Well, the R4 district changes may not add to the housing supply. It would. I think the R4 is mainly to recognize existing conditions and allow them to continue. So R4 is just, it's more of a simplified district to recognize this area, to calibrate the requirements accordingly. And so it's not something that I even know we're going from. You might have a couple extra units here and there because you're going from 10,000 square feet to 5,000, but 5,000 that's more in line with the average of the area. In terms of could you redevelop something that's way out of whack? We do have the lot coverage requirement is probably the main thing that's going to address that overall bulk and scale. So for right now in that area, it's 35%, that's RG1. In the overlay district doesn't affect that. But in R4, which is this area, it's been proposed to increase to 40%. So I want to say minor, but it's a fairly minor increase in lot coverage to based on measurements of averages of these blocks. So it's a little bit more accommodating, but when you have lot coverage applying everywhere, it's going to control that. So even if you combine 1 or 2 lots, you still have to meet that 40%. And that's all hard surfaces. That's not just rooftop. That's driveway. That's patio, anything like that. So that's really one of your main controls for the McMansion type scenario. And that also was a concern of the Planning Commission. That was specifically mentioned that we didn't want to open up this area for some sort of out-of-scale redevelopment project. And we're still only allowing single-family dwellings in this district. There's no attached, no multifamily, anything else like that. We did add in the provision for ADUs, but not any sort of attached or multifamily housing.
That would be our one solution. Answer to your question, Jerry, would be ADUs in that area. That's one thing that will be allowed.
I mean, we can put ADUs anywhere and not eliminate the inland overlay district. I just don't see any need to eliminate the overland district other than you're trying to promote the same lot sizes throughout the city. And that does not represent the residents that own that property. You know, that does not help them in the long run. And that's my concern.
Yeah, and so it's kind of the lot size is something, if you're saying, well, we want to be stricter on non-conforming lots, then the overlay district is one way to do it. Or you say that R4, see the overlay district, I just think it's a little bit complicated. I think you could do everything, let's just say you wanted no change in policy whatsoever, you could do the same thing with just R4. You just write it that way. And just the fact that it's one district on top of another, it just complicates matters. We're looking for simplicity, and you could write the exact same provisions in the current code as R4. So, and that's essentially that's your decision. But it's just the fact that we have an overlay. We think it could be simplified by a traditional zoning district, and that was a specific direction with the planning commission said, let's simplify, just make it its own zoning district. We don't need it. But in terms of lot sizes, we're saying, well, 10,000 square feet, we don't want any lots in the future created that are ever smaller than 10,000. So we're being stricter on the lot size requirement, but in terms of where a building can be on a lot, we're being more, it seems like the direction may be to be much more accommodating toward that nonconformity, but not the nonconforming lot situation. So, but ultimately, it's we're here to take your direction.
Mr. Kate, Mr. Montgomery, I have a feeling Mr. DeWitt might have a few more questions. But
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I'm struggling to keep up with all this, primarily because I live in a condo and I don't have to deal with setbacks. So, but I'll go along with the flow here and do what we can.
I'm open to hear.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Ready to move on?
You bet. Go ahead, Mike.
Section 7 on your proposal. On special land use provisions. It says discretionary review and approval by planning commission and city council. These uses are allowed, blah, 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 blah. This section revised the approval process to delegate special land use to the planning commission instead of city council. What's the reasoning for that? That we
Sure.
should advocate our responsibility to the city?
Sure, absolutely. I think the planning commission was well aware that this would be a key policy decision for the council, and anytime you have delegation of duties, it is certainly you have to treat that sensitively, because there could be a body, whether it's the planning commission delegating to staff or city council delegating to the planning commission. Delegation is really a common theme with zoning code updates. It just allows for a more, I guess, streamlined process for approval. There are cases where, you know, also city council you have a long agenda. You have a lot of things going on. You know, we have things that may just be an ADU. I think the best example would be the channel side ADUs. So they have these self-storage units, commercial storage suites. They want to put in a small area that somebody could sleep overnight there. You know, if they have one of those, it has to go through the planning commission and public hearing all the way to the council, just so you can look at a small 500, 600 square foot area in the back of a storage unit that someone may sleep overnight. Is that something that the city council needs to be spending its time on? And again, that's my question to you. Now,
my answer to you is absolutely.
Yep, I agree. So some communities may say we want this to go to the highest level of approval because of special land use. You know, because whatever reason it might be. Other communities are fine to delegate. And then the other issue, which I think you made in recent months, you made an interesting decision. I actually like it. Is you just said that for the wireless communications, you want to make sure that you retained that ability to approve wireless communication towers in any case, even if we end up delegating responsibility of other special land uses to Planning Commission. So you can also do that to where you have major or minor special land uses. Maybe certain things go to the city council, certain things are Planning Commission. So, but ultimately, it's the city council's comfort level. You have to assess your workload. You have to assess, when you see something, you feel that this has been adequately handled by the Planning Commission. And it's just really your level of comfort, and do you want your hands on those, regardless of if it's a cell tower, a multifamily, or if it's just like an ADU. So there's no wrong answer. It's what you're comfortable with.
Well, it's not like this comes before us every 10 times every meeting. It comes up, once every 6 months? I think I would be reluctant to abdicate that responsibility to the Planning Commission, who are unelected and unanswerable to the citizens. Oh, I got the floor yet? Okay. Okay, on this section 8. And accessory dwelling units. It says the property owner must be occupied either within the principal dwelling or accessory unit operated under blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what happens? I have one now, my mom's living there, my mom passed away, I decide to sell. I sell to William, he decides to make it a short-term rental. There's no way we can stop it, correct?
The language as it is now, so you have a rental permitting process, and as it's stated now is that an ADU shall not serve as a short-term rental unit in any case.
But the whole property could.
Unless, well, right now we're saying it can be rented under one contract, but in no case.
So I could rent both residences under short-term rental as one unit.
That's a scenario, we don't accommodate that scenario with this language, but if that's something you're okay with, that can be written that way.
We can't turn it down, correct?
Well, right now, as presented, what the Planning Commission looked at this as if we're going to open up a new land use in areas that are primarily single unit residential dwellings, that we would only want to encourage this so that it could be somewhere somebody could live there longer term, or you could more of a housing solution rather than a short-term rental solution. So that was one of the reasons why the Planning Commission supported that restriction on the ADU. So you can't just build in order to further your short-term rental interests, but let's only allow these in cases where they can actually be housing for someone who wants to live in the community or downsize or family situations. But again, that's a policy question that's completely up to the council. Just the Planning Commission did not want to encourage ADU construction unless it was going to help accomplish housing goals.
I understand the premise of doing it, and I have no problem with it. My question is, can we write the ordinance that any ADU would not be classified as short-term rental, either property? That way, if we had a situation where it was long-term rental, I could rent it, my mom could move in, cousin, whatever, as opposed to a short-term rental where they would advertise. In fact, a landlord already asked me this. They could advertise a short-term rental. Bring your parents because we have separate living accommodations for your parents. Is that, I guess I would refer that back to the Planning Commission that any property that has ADU could not be listed under any circumstances as short-term rental. Is that something we can look at? Moving on.
Mike, I have a question.
Sure.
So basically, you're promoting ADUs as long-term rentals, basically.
Right, because if any of us
You
had.
don't want Airbnbs in the ADUs, basically.
Right, I don't want the Airbnbs and the short-term weekly rentals. We're allowing an additional property, a living space. And what I don't want to see is it as a short-term rental, because what'll happen, sure as the world is, I see a lot of opportunity for abuse on that rental side. Still got it? Go ahead. Section 19. I have on the PUDs. Why are we reducing the acreage required for a PUD to be rezoned from, I don't know offhand what the current is, but down to 1 acre?
Right now, the minimum's 3, but there's a provision to allow for a reduction in size if certain standards are met. When we looked at that for Cottage Shores, that was less than 3 acres. You could argue either way on any of those standards for the reduction under 3. It's written in a way that would just set us up for challenge, and it did. There was an attorney that did challenge the interpretation on the reduction under 3. And so there are some communities that have minimum acreages for PUDs. Some communities only want PUDs used in cases where it's a larger mixed-use development. Some communities have seen abuse of PUDs on a single site PUD, where it's just a gas station PUD, and someone's looking for some ability to bend the rules for a gas station. I've seen it done. That's not the point. The point is that a PUD should allow for something that it allows for some flexibility as long as you're meeting the standards noted in the ordinance. So I have no issues if you have a single lot PUD, if that project is going to benefit the community and it's going to if it's a housing project and it's going to meet the goals of the master plan and its objectives. So the acreage to me is arbitrary, and I've had the same conversation in other jurisdictions that have had minimum acreages. A lot of communities are dropping those. Others feel that you should have a minimum just in order to ensure that it's only used for larger scale developments. But my opinion is it could be a single lot as long as you're reviewing it based on the standards that are very tight within the PUD section. It's qualification that you can consider it, and it can go up to the council for your review. So just because it's 1 acre or half acre, I wouldn't want that to be prevented from using that PUD tool as long as it's accomplishing the goals of the city.
Okay, you clarified that one for me. Okay, moving on, section 20. Okay, a question I had is low-density dune residential. We're allowing accessory dwelling units on non-waterfront lots. Now, my question to you is, you have maximum lot coverage of 35% in R1 low density. So the ADU is in addition to the 35% or 35% maximum?
Right. Well, the original language did exempt ADUs from the lot coverage requirement. So an ADU is already limited in size based on the size of the principal or 800 square feet, whichever is less. So the original thought was that we would allow for an exemption so that somebody could add an ADU and not have to worry about attempt to get a variance to put it in based on lot coverage. Now, we understand there are concerns from your last meeting, and so that provision was struck from the current document, so that if you add an ADU now, you have to calculate that square footage against your lot coverage.
So 35% maximum
Correct.
in
Yep.
R1 residential?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I had the same question in R2 low density. So that would still remain at 35% with the ADU?
Correct.
Thank you. All right, section 20, R3, medium density residential. Now, why did we go to 40% lot coverage in this district instead of 35?
I believe that is the existing requirement in this district.
Okay, all right. Section 20, R4 medium density, lakefront residential. My personal opinion, we should throw it all out and just stay with the inland overlay district. Now, why are we proposing that R4 medium density that add accessory dwelling units, now we jumped it from 35 to 40% in an area that's prone to flooding? Explain that to me.
Well, it was based on I mean, it was another way of accommodating non-conforming dwellings. So, non-conforming sites as a whole. So we looked at a number of blocks, did calculations, averages, and the 40% is a little bit more accommodating toward the existing conditions of that area rather than 35%. So it was a slight increase. And then as you go down from 10,000 square feet to a smaller lot size, you kind of have to calibrate that lot coverage accordingly as well. So it was based on existing conditions and just ensuring that we were also accommodating that as a non-conformity as well. So you have non-conforming lots, non-conforming dwellings, and then non-conforming site conditions, which is lot coverage as a site condition.
You do realize that whole area had about 2 inches of water in it after these last couple storms? And to increase lot coverage in an area that's already prone to flooding makes no sense to me.
I think that the same could be said for the reconstruction provision. So if you have situations that you're promoting reconstruction of dwellings in the same footprint that are already exceeding lot coverage, so that's another case to where we are allowing for the removal of impervious square footage with that same amount. So, but again, it was really I think the concern is certainly important, but it was based on looking at averages and looking and assessing blocks of the affected area. It was thought that was more aligned with the existing conditions, and that was the sort of the intent of the ILO in the first place. So, but again, it's certainly up to your direction here.
Mr. DeWitt, would you rather see it lowered down to 30 or 25%?
No, I think 35% has been standard for 40 years? Why are we increasing it in an area prone to flooding? That just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
The sense is that it fits the pre-existing conditions of what's already there. The 40 rather than the 35.
Yeah, I would say the 35, we should remain at 35 because that whole area, I have no problem with going to 40 in other areas of the city, but in that particular area, it is prone to flooding, and it just makes no sense whatsoever.
It's more of an issue on the east side. So the east portion of that, you're going to see averages closer in the 40 range. You're going to see some sites that are a lot greater, but it's less of an issue on the west side. So the I think it was our last planning commission, that's when it was decided that we're gonna treat the whole area as one R4 area. Whereas originally the district was intended only for the east side at 40% because that mostly matched the east side. So when we included the west side, I think that's a case where the west side, you have lots, they're more conforming to lot coverage based on the averages. So it's something to where if you want to look at it, one standard for one side, one the other, or just knock it down 35, but the 40% would match the east side better than the west side.
Not really. Between Virginia and, what is it, Carlson? That whole area is underwater. It was underwater today when I drove through there.
Just looking at this block by block,
Well, you're trying to make one size fit all here, and now you're trying to back water and say, hey, we're gonna do this for these people and this for these people. Now, why are these people being discriminated against and these people aren't? We need one standard.
well, and I think the idea was that 40 was the recommendation. Although, you know, I think there is, we were asked a couple months ago, why are you treating the existing ILO area differently? Because I think there are different characteristics between the east and west side. But ultimately, the direction was that treat it as one. And so we had to pick a number, and I think 40 was what was the Planning Commission's recommendation. I think that's more in line with the east side. The west side, like if looking at block averages, I have 25%, 27%, 19%, 26, 33, 24. So those are a 7 kind of main block study areas. So the west side, you just don't have the block coverage as great as the east side, where you're going to see averages 40, sometimes more. But yes, if we treat it all as one, you're going to have one side that's it's not. It was a change our last planning commission meeting. And, certainly open for discussion.
Well, my point is, it's 35% in the entire city. How are you going to increase it in an area that floods? That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I think
use some common sense here.
Well, and the other reason for the 40% is that it was in line, like the lot sizes for R3 and R4 for single family are the same size, and they actually the same requirements as well for setbacks. So R3 and R4 mostly are matching in terms of single unit dimensional requirements. So that was another reason why that 40% was seen as, I mean, I think your point is well taken. If there's a specific flooding issue here, we shouldn't be, maybe it's not the best way to just compare R4 to the rest of R3 that is not in a similar case. But when you're just looking at comparable lot sizes and dimensions, R3 and R4 are no different in terms of single unit residential.
Still got the floor? That's long. You have been talking years. I don't have it in front of me, but we were proposing, I don't know what I did with it. We were proposing 600 some square foot houses that would be allowed.
Yes, so that's for the end of the. Printer didn't print out, but I can find it for you. So yes, one of the tools in the housing reform toolkit from the state was to either reduce or eliminate the minimum area of a dwelling, just to that when jurisdictions prescribe a specific dwelling area, that it adds the cost of housing. So it's giving more flexibility. In the Planning Commission looked at the Ottawa County small footprint series of buildings, and the range there, I have it in the memo from last meeting. Yes, thank you. So there's four concepts in that series of designs. The smallest one was 440 square feet, and 20 feet wide. And then the concept 4, which was the largest, was 1,056 square feet and 32 feet wide. So the Planning Commission did look at this Ottawa County initiative and in the small footprint design plans and series, and ultimately it was determined that they wanted to support the smallest concept. And we did go back and forth on that between concept 2, which was 673, and concept 1, which is pretty small at 440. So that's the basis for the 440 in that table, that we wanted to accommodate small footprint homes that would be consistent with Ottawa County's effort.
Okay, just to say, I'm in support of that, but I have one suggestion that in 400 or 600 square foot with no garage, now we're eliminating the garage requirement, correct?
It's proposed that the garage requirement is eliminated, so it's optional to have a garage.
Okay, so what I would propose that gets written in the ordinance is that any 640 square foot house, whatever, has a storage shed. The last thing we need to see is a bunch of broken down lawnmowers, shovels, and everything else laying around the front yard. So that should be a requirement of the small house or any house without a garage. Is that something that seems reasonable? I think I'm finally done.
I've had a number of citizens reach out to me as well. The big concern with small homes, they don't have a problem with it being in their neighborhood, but they definitely don't want all the good efforts that we've made through the years to clean up the city to go to waste by not having at least a storage shed requirement, if not a garage. Mr. DeWitt, are you?
I'm done.
Satisfied?
I ran
No?
out of
Okay,
breath.
very good. Hey, David, you had sent a letter in response April 29th to the City Hall in regards to a bunch of questions given to you from the city manager from different citizens. Could you go through that? That was April 29th. It was in our packet tonight. Yep, right there. Zone it into.
Oh, the memo from the
Yes.
the 29th. Yep. Okay,
That answers a whole bunch of citizens' questions. And if you could go through those piecemeal, that would be fantastic.
sure. These were 4 main questions that Craig sent over after the meeting. So the first was concerning the short-term rentals. We did address the short-term rental situation. And so right now we said that ADU cannot serve as a short-term rental in any case. But we had a conversation about possibly not allowing any property with an ADU to be short-term rented at all. So if you have an ADU, you can't rent the whole, both of them, principal and ADU together. But right now the restriction is only that you can't rent the ADU in a short-term basis under the current language. The second was the accessory dwelling unit lot coverage exemption. So we covered that one as well. So we previously had the kind of an incentive to allow for an ADU that would not be subject to lot coverage. We have since eliminated that exemption. So you still need to meet lot coverage for an ADU based on your direction from last meeting. Number 3, the reconstruction provision in R4. So I say that which generally reflects but clarifies the current provisions in the Inland Lake overlay, and then reference the section. So I did add that in based on the current language of the Inland Lake overlay district. Again, based on your direction, we could go and make that more accommodating. And this is for the reconstruction, voluntarily reconstructing a home. So we've added that in. If you want that changed, we can tune it up, tune it down to your comfort level. And then
So in regards to that reconstruction provision, I think what Councilmember DeWitt is asking for is something that's much more plain language, that if it's there, you can rebuild it.
Well, and not only plain language, but just the provision itself, the same footprint language. If you want to allow for a same footprint, you say same footprint and then have no conditions. It's just the fact that there's same footprint language with these 6 conditions that must be met that may limit your same footprint. So my impression is that you would like to see this with those provisions primarily struck, except for maybe one that says you can't build on someone else's property.
Well, yeah, that's obvious. But, and it should be specific, you can rebuild on the existing footprint, but you cannot increase any variances or setbacks or slot coverage or anything of that nature. But I would like to see it specifically saying, hey, you have the right to rebuild on the existing footprint.
If that's a direction, it should be as simple as that.
Seems pretty simple to me. Instead of having to go to 30 chapters in the zoning ordinance to figure out if you can do it or not.
What
Yeah,
can we
if
do
you,
then?
if you want it to say that, if that's the direction of the city council, that's the language that we should write, very plain language with striking those provisions underneath. And again, that is more accommodating than the current language, but if that's your direction, that's what will be done.
How about existing accessory building or garage?
So the reconstruction section does not address the accessory building.
I mean, we got a lot of garages that are on a foot off the property line, been there for 100 years.
Yep, so reconstruction is only concerning so we're talking about a non-conforming dwelling, a principal dwelling. So we're not addressing a detached garage, detached accessory storage shed. And so that what this means is that if you want to tear it down, you have to meet the current requirements, in which in the current ordinance are obviously lesser than what you have outside the overlay, but you cannot, in the current language, you can't tear down a detached accessory building and rebuild it in the same footprint unless you comply with the zoning ordinance. So if you want to allow that, we'd have to say that as well.
I don't know why we wouldn't at this point. I mean, other than it has to maintain that footprint, come back on your.
What is everybody looking at me? Make a decision. I think that in that particular, I think we should allow it, and it should be plain English. That chapter 1, verse 1, this is what it says.
I agree. Is that the consensus council on that?
Yeah, I think the
Rebuild.
accessory. I think
Rebuild.
accessory is a little different just because we have.
Mhm.
You know, if you can maintain the same square footage but brought onto your property, I think there should be some leeway for that.
And I'd also ask that there'd be an ongoing ordinance, not grandfathered, so like the purchaser of the property also would have the right to build on the same exact footprint. So if it's sold.
Yep, I think that's a good point. We refer to a lot of record, and the lot of record your lot of record status should not change based on being to a new owner. So a lot of the ordinance should say you have this right on a lot of record, which is a lot in which existed in 2009, whatever it was when it's quoted in the ordinance, and we can ensure that the transfer of ownership does not affect if that's. Because that's currently my reading of the current ordinance, that it shouldn't affect it.
I didn't mean to cut you off after number 3, but could we revisit number 1 before we go on to the service district or the core commercial? Could revisit number 1 in terms of rentals and ADUs. I got a word salad out of you the first time.
Okay, so the ADUs, right now it says that no ADU can be rented on a short-term basis at all.
Right.
And so I think then the direction was possibly to not allow for any property that has an ADU to qualify for a short-term rental permit at all. Is that correct? So that would I want to make sure I understand that correctly as well. So right now you can't the intent is, so they're not, the ADU cannot be short-term rented, but if you have a principal dwelling, you want to ensure that that principal and ADU together can't be short-term rented? Or are you okay with if the principal has a short-term rental permit and it's under the same contract, that the principal and accessory could be rented together on a short-term basis?
I would like
Are you okay with that situation, or because that would be the one case where if the principal is being short-term rented, and you have a long-term renter in the backyard, I mean, I could see that as a little bit awkward, but it's just, I think the intent was we didn't want someone just to live there and have short-term rental in the backyard. We wanted to make sure that it was more of a long-term tenant in the place for the point of the ordinance. So.
Your Honor? And my thought is if we not allow short-term rentals, that someone with a handicapped person or needed care, whatever, they could rent the principal for their family and the ADU for a family member or whatever. That way we would make affordable housing more available as opposed to the short-term rental. I wouldn't like to see either one as a short-term rental, one long-term, one short-term. That's real confusing. There's no way in the world we're gonna be able to police that.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna do a short-term rental, it has to be the whole property.
Excuse me?
I said, I think if you're gonna do a short-term rental, it should be the whole property.
Well, now we're having 2 units short-term rental.
But it's one contract.
You're renting the whole thing.
You're renting the whole thing.
You're renting the whole thing.
You're renting the whole property.
So, and I think that's the question. With short-term, would you want a short-term rental of the principal and dwelling as long as it was under one contract? Or do you want, or we want to say if there's an ADU on the property, you can't do any short-term rental, and that's between what, 7 and 30 days, by definition.
Yeah, I would say you can rent the whole property. That ADU may be part of it, but it's all under one contract.
I would be opposed to it personally, but I can see your point. But I would prefer to see it as long-term rental only. No, and the ordinance saying that you could not rent it for short-term. Because I can see what's going to happen. You're going to rent the main structure, and then you're going to say, hey, we gotta give me $150 and you can rent this here for a weekend.
I mean, that's no different than me renting a 6-bedroom house and saying, give me $150 and you can have the bedroom.
But it's too different. Your point is valid if it's a house. Now we have a duplex,
On the same property.
I guess I can go either way, but I would prefer to see it long-term rental only, personally.
Yeah, I think at that point you're taking away rights from current people that have ADUs on their property.
So the way it's written right now is long-term rental only, no short-term rentals for ADUs?
Yes. The ADU itself cannot be short-term rental, but this doesn't address the principal, so.
You can currently rent the whole property.
You know, I think,
Conceivably, somebody could do long-term rental of the ADU and short-term rental on the primary.
but I don't think you can, because I think there's still the rental contract for the entire, let me just.
You're renting the whole property currently, aren't you?
Yep.
You're renting the main house and the ADU.
My concern is you can rent the ADA long-term. Now, I'm in there with my mom. I rent it to her long-term. I move out. and then you can rent the main residence, short-term? That
No,
makes,
you'd have to rent the whole property.
well, as it's written now, that's a possibility, correct? It says you can't rent the ADU short-term. Does not address whether you can rent the main residence as a short-term.
Well, I think, so, just to clarify, the principal single unit dwelling or the ADU shall be occupied and used by the owner as their primary year-round residence. So I think that's the one, that's the kicker there, that it needs to be owner occupied, or the entire principal dwelling and ADU shall be rented under a single contract. Now, if the ADU can't be rented short-term, you couldn't have that long-term, short-term between units. So I think that addresses the different terms. You can't have one short, one long, because one cannot be rented and they have to, as short-term, and it has to be the same contract. So that scenario of long, short wouldn't happen based on this language.
So you think that, as written, addresses my concerns?
You'll have to run circles around the section. So let me know again. You not, so
I mean, based
right
on,
now, you could, I think your original code, you could not rent the principal and the ADU together as a short-term rental. Not do that. I think that was your original concern.
William's point, he thinks we should be allowed to rent it as one unit, correct? So
as the whole property.
So I think that's the policy question right there. I think there's some cases to where you're expanding potential occupancy of a short-term rented property, so that I could see some concerns with additional occupants, additional parking. Sometimes there's concerns with disruptions to a neighborhood. So I mean that we went through a lot of these types of questions during a short-term rental ordinance process a couple of years ago. So I guess if your concern is impact on the community, you may want to keep the restriction as it is. But at the same time, if it's just kind of an extension of the principle, I could see that argument as well. But it's just, maybe it's think about what situations you've had recently from an enforcement perspective, and is occupancy and activity on a site a key issue?
Yeah, and I guess to be clear, if you're saying we exclude if we exclude the ADU from the short-term rental, but allow them to rent the principal and just keep that keep the ADUs empty, I'm good with that. I just don't want to, if you have an ADU on your property, you're now banned from any form of short-term rental.
Our biggest headache is short-term rentals now, with the parking, garbage pickup. I don't know how many, I get called all the time on it. I just call Craig. I'm out of that loop. I don't know how many drive me crazy, but I know they drive me crazy.
Well, and our intent certainly wasn't to create more short-term rentals, correct? That's not our intent.
Well, and that's why you say it has to be owner occupied.
Right, but what happens when the owner dies?
Or under one long-term.
If the owner dies, then it's not eligible.
Right, now you can, now they can list it as short. I don't know, we need to address that, think about it and see what you can do to address that. You understand our concerns, one way or the other, both are short-term or both long-term, however.
I have a question. Talking about short-term rentals, what if the resident lives in the primary and wants to rent the ADU out short-term?
So that scenario right now would not be allowed. So yeah, it would only allow for long-term. So owner occupied only allow for long-term rental of the ADU.
even in the districts that we allow for short-term rentals, we'd still exclude those from renting ADUs in that district. Correct.
Yes, as currently written, yes.
Okay. I don't know if I necessarily like that. I think, you know, if somebody builds an ADU and they want to rent it out on the weekends, they should be allowed to. I know we have an affordable housing crisis, but it's kind of restricting people on what they can do on their own properties a little bit, so. Something to think about.
Yeah, there's an argument there, because I mean, they're really, with owner occupancy, they're policing the activity, and on a lot of communities I work with have owner occupied units, and they do allow for short-term rentals, because the owner is there, they're making sure it doesn't get out of control. I think the planning commission's thought was that allowing it, if we're opening this up the first time in the city, that we focus on the priority based on the state's, the grant funding and the state effort to increase the housing supply, and not necessarily do that but I mean, you could argue that somebody is using that short-term rental income to ensure that they're for their mortgage, they're upkeeping their home. I think there's an argument in either way on these. It's really, I think we've looked at a couple scenarios that are solved, and I think they're all good comments. I don't think there's a wrong answer.
Well, as Mr. Urbantraut mentioned earlier about personal property rights, if you have ADU on your property, in certain districts, you wouldn't be able to rent it out, right? In this district? That's what's being proposed. You wouldn't be able to rent it out? For short-term rental?
Only for short-term. So you could rent it out. So
but not for short-term. So it's impeding someone's personal property right to make money with their property. But on the other hand, it protects the neighboring citizens who, according to zoning, don't need to have a short-term rental there. So.
Pros and cons.
That's the. Could we move on to number 4?
Yep. And so for
going on to service district.
Yep. So we have the 2 downtown area rezonings in. So the service district is well, there's a core commercial area that's proposed to be zoned service, and there's a question if there's any pre-existing dwelling. I think there's 1, possibly 2, and the question is, well, what happens if they become non-conforming? So can they do an addition? You know, what are their rights? Are they subject to strict non-conformity regulations? And I think that was a good observation, because the core commercial district already has a provision. So if there are pre-existing single unit dwellings, the expansion is subject to residential requirements. So the core commercial refers to R5. So what I did is I just took that same paragraph that was for core commercial and added to service district, but then I added in they're subject to R3 medium density requirements, because that's what we're rezoning immediately south of that area is to R3. So I think it's a good, there are those 1 or 2 houses in that area that will be rezoned to service, and I don't think they should be penalized, and I think that the provision that you have for CC should be mirrored in service as well to accommodate that situation.
Craig, with the different correspondence that City Hall has received, is there any citizens' questions that have not been addressed?
We received correspondence from Rebecca and Jack Hopp. They're concerned with the change to the amendments. And one from Mr. Dryer regarding the front loading of garages. I think Mr. Joseph has answered that.
I did give a quick email response. You may not have seen it, was about an hour or 2 before the meeting, but I do agree along Cecilia, the waterfront homes, basically from the east side all the way up to maybe the last, it maybe wouldn't apply to the last 4 houses to the northwest of Cecilia, but all the others, Mr. Dryer mentioned that the average front setback is about 8.9 feet. And I took some quick measurements. I think it is right around there. I think that area certainly is unique compared to the rest of the R4 zoning district. I think that garage requirements, when looking at those, maybe 20 or 30 lots, whatever it might be, I can see how that could be problematic if you want an attached garage or any type of garage. I think what you could do to handle that is just have a standard setback for lots, waterfront lots, fronting Cecilia, and have no distinction between garage or just the main part of the house. Also, so that would be 15 feet. You could also look to even drop that to 10 feet. So if it's truly a 9-foot average along that area, you may want to give a little bit more accommodation. I don't want to suggest a Cecilia overlay district, but you could do a carve out, as mentioned, that would recognize the character of those waterfront lots. It is truly different, and if we're looking at any sort of setbacks beyond 10 or 15 feet, it does get really tight very, very quickly. And our averaging requirement only allows us to go down to 12.5. So,
Any other council members have any questions? Mr. George? We have a motion on the floor to deny. Or no?
No. We have a motion and support.
Motion and support on the floor for no. Your Honor, so the way out of the weeds would be for us to have Mr. Jurosik do some polishing. Is that correct, Craig?
So city council has indicated they want some changes to it, so I'm not sure if city council will be open to tabling this to the next meeting to give Mr. Jurosik a time to put a pen to paper and bring it back to city council for your review.
Does that sound good?
Well, I think we have a motion and support. I think we vote it down and then he can bring it back to us.
Achieves the same thing, doesn't it?
So city council is willing to look at it again with revisions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Voted down here.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would like to address one of the issues that Mike brought up about special land uses and the planning commission having permanent say over those. That's something that I would really like to see struck from our zoning. When you're talking about special land uses, you're not just talking about daycares in somebody's home. Special land uses also and special permitted uses, special land uses that are under community service buildings and facilities, fire stations, city offices, clubhouses, or the private property owners association, nonprofit recreational building, tennis courts, public parks, and playgrounds, and buildings and facilities of a similar nature all fall under special land uses, which means that we would give all this control over to the planning commission without any say from council vote on any of these issues if they choose to go with that. And I think we need to strike that from the zoning. I think council should make those decisions. Planning commissions are volunteer individuals, and these are issues that really could affect our city, and I think that should be left up to city council.
Any more discussion before we take a vote? Seeing none, Craig, you want to call roll, please?
Motion to deny, Councilmember Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilmember Sias?
Yes.
Councilmember Kate?
No.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Yes.
Mayor Carlson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. So given our time constraints, I would recommend that we can table a whole bunch of stuff, can't we, Craig?
Yeah, we could table, we have people from Habitat for Humanity here. We could address that one and then table the rest.
Sorry, I had cataract surgery, so I'm one-eyed here. You could go ahead and read it, please. I can't read that.
New business D, discussion and to take action if appropriate to approve a request to waive the water and sewer connection fees for 2 new Habitat for Humanity houses located at 17270 Lane Avenue and 17495 Bridge Avenue.
Thank you, William.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve.
Very good. Looking for support.
Support.
Okay, motion and support on the floor. Any questions regarding this?
Craig, what is the fee as currently presented to them?
So the house on Ridge Avenue was, total fee for water and sewer hookup was $16,165. And for the house on Lane was $16,116.60.
So 32,000 for both of them?
Correct.
I got a problem with waiving it in total. The information I had was in Grand Haven, they were at 4,000 per property. Is that correct, Craig? I saw an email somewhere.
Yeah.
It was.
It was in their letter.
I would like to propose that instead of 32,000, we charge 4,000 per unit for a total of 8,000 for sewer and water hookups. That would cover our cost and such what.
Here, Craig, they're just proposing. I mean, the proposal says a water and sewer connection. Right?
That's correct.
So we're not waiving the frontage charge or service charge.
It'd be all of it, yes. Total.
So you're not requesting waive the connection fee, you're requesting waive all of our fees.
That's my understanding, yes.
Right, and I just don't think that's fair to our other citizens that paid full price.
I agree.
I can see giving them a discount, but, you know, you're going from 32,000 to nothing.
I mean, well, I guess that's what I was getting at, Mike, is I would be in support of waiving a connection fee.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a breakdown of the particular fees.
16,000 for the first house. The connection fees were about 2,300 each, so 60 or 4,600 would be waived.
So you're proposing they pay the frontage charge?
I mean, that's how I read the proposal.
Mr. Mayor, we do have someone here from Habitat if they would like to speak on this.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I just think it's all other new services have paid this at some point. Correct?
That's correct.
And this is already a discount because we have not increased our fees since 2007.
Correct.
Hi, Dominica Montalvo, Executive Director at Tri-Cities Habitat. Can answer any questions that you might have. If you wanted to ask something specific, or if you just would like me to explain what we were asking for.
Seems to be some confusion. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What's in total what you're asking for?
Okay, so we were just saying that the 16,000 was excessive in comparison to what we've been paying in other areas. We paid for roughly 4,500 in Grand Haven and about the same in Roosevelt Park. And so we were just asking for some relief on that. 16,000 was quite excessive in comparison, which would also be 10% of our housing budget. And this is not like a profitable housing project. This is not something that we would be making money on. This is providing housing for people who are in line with what the mission is for not only Habitat, but with the state in trying to provide affordable housing for people who wouldn't normally be able to purchase a house. All of the money, obviously, with us being a nonprofit, that is made from the sale of the home goes right back into building the next house. We don't charge much over what it costs us to build the house. And our house in Roosevelt Park, at this point, we're at almost $200,000, and that doesn't really fit into the affordable model structure for some of the families that would be in the running for that. And with that house being charged $4,000, roughly $4,500, I'll say, for the connection fee, we still ended up at $200,000. So what we're asking is just for some relief on that, so that we can at least come to the space where we're matching that, so we can provide affordable housing for some families.
So what I'm hearing is, you'd be happy at $4,500 each?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I make an amendment to my motion?
Or go right ahead.
I'd amend it to charging $4,500 connection fee for each house.
Support. Motion and support. Any more discussion on the floor?
Just for clarity, that 45 is a total fee or connection?
Total fee is what she's requesting.
Total fee. Total, yes,
fee.
I'm sorry.
Very good. Go ahead, Greg.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Kay,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
No.
Mayor Carlson,
Yes,
motion passed.
very good.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion that we table to the next meeting 7, E, F, G, and H.
Support.
one cool with that? Greg?
Seeing no discussion, Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson,
Yes,
motion passed.
very good. Now's the time for public comments. Any public comments? Issue of PFAS. I just had a thought with that. How far does the contamination at the Citgo terminal go with the PFAS? I know we don't know that yet, but one way we could find out if it's spreading inside people's homes is to test the actual groundwater of homes that are flooding in the area. Because I'm concerned that possibly it's not safe for people to be touching the water. You know, if the water's, one of the PFAS counts was 8,900 parts per trillion, and the EPA says 4 parts per trillion is the limit. And then just to bring another awareness to PFAS, the state's guide for how many fish you can eat out of the Grand River, which includes Spring Lake and all the bayous, is 1 serving per month of bluegill, 1 serving per month of sunfish, 1 serving every 2 months for walleye. So I don't know how many people know that there's PFAS in the fish that are in the Grand River and Spring Lake, but that's one thing to consider. And then another is the drinking water that we collect, that Grand Haven collects through the water treatment plant. They collect that water about 1,000 feet offshore from where the Grand River dumps into the lake. And the other municipalities, like the treatment plant on M45, they don't have any PFAS in their water, but you can check the Grand Haven water treatment plant and you can see the months that it was tested over 4 parts per trillion, and then in 2018 it tested at 8 parts per trillion. And the general thinking on PFAS is
the number is going down on what's allowable for human health. And I would just like to know how far this contamination spreads, and I'd like to know why the only property that's being looked at is the Sitco, when it's possible that we don't know that the PFAS came from the Sitco property, if it came from a neighboring one. So I think it would be beneficial for the city to offer test kits for people's, groundwater that's in their crawl space or in their basement to see if it has PFAS in it, because the groundwater can migrate and we don't know how far it's migrated yet. So I think that would be a good thing for the city to offer.
Thank you. Any additional public comment tonight from anyone? Seeing none? City manager report?
No report?
Great. Mr. DeWitt, none? Mr. King?
No report. No report.
Very good. No report for the mayor.
Motion to adjourn. Yikes.